when Penrith are looking to break down a team and break down a side, you'd think they'd turn to Nathan Cleary or Jerome Luai or even Dylan Edwards. But really, the key to their attack is Isaah Yeo. And playing at lock, he's a little bit underrated in the job that he does on the field. And his stats are, pretty good for a lock, and the amount of meters he runs, the number of hit-ups he takes. But really, what he adds to the side is almost unquantifiable and is hard to really demonstrate. But that's what I'm going to try and do here. So on Friday night, Penrith kind of pretty easily accounted for Souths in their grand final rematch. Wasn't much of a rematch. Let's not really get into the fact these aren't really rematches. It's not the same 17 from each side playing each other again a couple of months later. Souths are without Adam Reynolds. They've got Latrell Mitchell, whereas Penrith have lost Matt Burton and Kurt Capewell. So this is not a grand final rematch as much as it's billed as one. But anyway, let's get on to what Isaah Yeo did for those full 80 minutes. So I actually went down to Bluebet Stadium on Friday night and watched Isaah Yeo for the entire game. And he did play out the full 80 minutes without a rest, obviously apart from half-time. He finished the game with the stat line of 19 runs, 172 metres, 58 post-contact metres, 40 tackles, but he threw 25 general play passes, which put him third behind Nathan Cleary and Jerome Luai. So he's passing the ball like a half. And that was actually 11 more passes than he averaged all of 2021. So he kind of runs that Penrith side, particularly through the middle of the field. So he does things that other locks don't really do. The only guy that would kind of be around his passing numbers would be Victor Radley. But the Roosters also rely a hell of a lot on James Tedesco helping to fill in at first receiver, particularly last year. But he's honestly probably the most important part of Penrith's attack. Because without him, Nathan Cleary has to be closer to the ruck, he can get pressured easier, and it's also harder for them to spin the ball wide. I'm not saying Nathan Cleary is expendable, he's far from that, but Penrith don't really have a replacement for Isaah Yeo the same way that they were able to call on Sean O'Sullivan. Ball-playing locks, while important, are still fairly rare to Yeo's level in the NRL, so if Penrith did have another one in their system, I'd be pretty sure that another club would come along and pick them up pretty quickly. Yeo is their organiser. When I watched him, he's pointing and he's yelling every tackle. He's in the middle of the field. If he's not taking a hit up, if he's not making a tackle, he's directing traffic through the middle of the field. And he's preparing a lot of their attacking raids. Obviously, while Nathan Cleary still does a lot of that himself, it's Isaah Yeo keying up particularly the middle ball runners. Obviously, being a lock himself, he understands lines like a prop would, but he's also got the silky ball movements of a half. He spends a lot of time at first receiver. I'm going to take you to having a look at the way he does that. So what he does is he basically compresses South's middle defence. And as we look at this first try, he gets the ball at first receiver, and he's got the attention of Junior Totola as well as Damien Cook, and then outside Cook you've got Keon Koloamatangi. So where he gets the ball, he forces attention on himself, but he's also got James Fisher-Harris running off his left shoulder. So you're going to tie up definitely 3 defenders, as well as the A defender pushing across and the marker. So you're essentially tying up 5 players in 2 attacking players. As he gets through the play, he finds Nathan Cleary out the back. Now, as it's pretty obvious for most people when you watch this play, of course Cleary's going to get it. But because of Yeo's ability to ball play at the line, the defenders still have to kind of sit on James Fisher-Harris and wait for the ball to go. So it goes out to Cleary, and instead of him going to Luai, he goes to kick out, and kick out is on the outside shoulder of Lachlan Ilias, which is a bad spot for Ilias to be. Because kick out's big, he's mobile, and he's fast. But Luai's also looped around the back of kick out, giving him another pass option. They essentially end up with a 3-on-2, and what do you know, Penrith, in their first attacking rate of the game, they're over in the left-hand corner. Their ball movement is slick, but none of that starts unless Isaah Yeo can do what he does to the middle of the field in terms of holding up the inside defenders and then hitting Nathan Cleary pretty much with a perfect ball out in front, and he can just then run at the defence. The ball is so good and Penrith's play is so good, Cleary doesn't even need to commit defenders because they've managed to develop an overlap just through body movement, just through Jerome Luai looping around the back of Kikau. It's essentially a good old-fashioned wraparound without the wraparound. And for a lot of Penrith's attack, this is what it looks like. So Yeo's basically playing as a halfback. Nathan Cleary is the 5'8", and Jerome Luai is playing the role of the looping fullback out the back for the second man play. And you don't see Dylan Edwards at all in this play, and that's because he's on the right-hand side of the field. Let's have a look where else Isaah Yeo pops out throughout the game. So here he is, 9th minute, bang, middle of the field, his first receiver. And this shouldn't really be a surprise for you, as I've already said, he's always there at first receiver. shoveling the ball on. They do launch another attacking raid down their left edge. It doesn't result in a try, but that's only because the final pass from Isaah Yeo goes to ground instead of into the hands of Taylor May. If that ball goes where it's supposed to go, then Penrith are probably over in that left corner again. We move on to the 11th minute, and again, here we are, Isaah Yeo, middle of the field, first receiver, and you've got Nathan Cleary again out the back. Now, Souths do come up, they shut this down, they do a pretty good job of reading it. It's Tane Milne who reads that Cleary's getting the ball and hammers him as he catches it. But it's just part of Penrith's attacking play that no other team really does on a regular basis, as regular as Penrith does. So now in the 12th minute, again, we've got Penrith attacking South's line, and again, you've got Isaah Yeo in at first receiver. And this play is a beautiful piece of rugby league. The hands are fast, they're quick, and they're slick. But again, this only works if every single player getting the ball shovels the ball when they need to into the spot that they need to. So it's got to be out in front and it's got to be fast. And Isaah Yeo at first receiver, it's all going to flow from him. If his pass is a little bit off to Nathan Cleary, the entire play breaks down. But he's good enough to essentially take the ball, shift it to his right hip, shovel it onto Cleary, who's just bang onto Edwards, and then onto Crichton out wide, and Penrith are in again. They do this too easily, and South's defence isn't that bad. They come up and in, and they commit trying to close the play down, but Penrith are far too slick, and they're far too quick for pretty much any defensive unit to really shut that type of play down. So we jump ahead to the 25th minute, and again, you've got Penrith on South's line. It's last tackle. Normally, you'd expect that's where the halfback's going to be in a first receiver, take the ball, put the kick in, or set up the final play. But Yeo's there at first receiver at lock. And the reason he's doing this is to give Cleary more space. So if he wants to have a crack on the left edge, he can do it. If he wants to put a kick in, he's got time and space to do it. And it's something that a lot of teams, you don't really see a lot of. Most halfbacks, last tackle, are going to come into first receiver. But it's really Cleary here who's come into second receiver. You see Cleary when he gets the ball here, he's got plenty of time and space and options. No one from South is pushing up and pressuring him because Yeo has managed to hold up the inside defenders. Cleary eventually gets the grubber through. Look, it's not great because Latrell Mitchell manages to clean this up before it reaches the in goal, and eventually Penrith give a penalty for dragging him into touch after he was tackled. But it's an example of the extra time that Isaah Yeo manages to give to his halfback that a lot of other teams don't get because they don't have a lock that can ball play like he does. It's also a way that you can allow Nathan Cleary to slide either side of the ruck without disrupting your ball distribution. So you can put him on either side of the ruck wherever you want because Isaah Yeo is going to be the man getting it initially. The only other sides that can really match this would be Souths and the Roosters through Victor Bradley and Cam Murray, although neither of them are as consistent as this. Now, Victor Bradley did average about 25 passes per game last year, and part of that was out of necessity because of the fact they were scrounging around for halves, and James Tedesco was also doing a lot of work at first receiver there. But neither of those sides attack this consistently with their lock at first receiver, and neither of them are as crisp as Penrith at the moment, both looking pretty clunky. I actually asked Nathan Cleary about this after the game in the press conference, because hearing it from a halfback is different than me telling you this. And so what Cleary essentially said was, I can talk about Yeo for days, how valuable he is. I honestly can't put into words what he does for the team. He's like having another halfback out there, and he started the season amazingly, and he was no different tonight. He just goes about his work, he helps direct us around, and he's a great link man through there. I think everyone highly respects him in the group, as well as everyone loves playing with him. You probably don't realise it until you actually take the field with him just how good he is, and he deserves all the raps that he gets. So I probably could have led with that quote to demonstrate the esteem with which he's held in at Penrith and what he actually does for the side, but then I don't get to rave about Isaah Yeo for the next 11 or 12 minutes. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you guys on Wednesday.